Hey guys, today I'll be bringing you something a little bit different here. Just thought I'd do a little bit different video approach than my usual stuff. I know a lot of you are getting bored with the already restored instruments, you know, me going over the demonstration for my clients, which that's important to me. But I just thought I'd do something a little bit different, and also this being a historical instrument, I wanted to make sure I documented a little bit different here than my usual stuff, and just kind of give you a good overview of what's going on with it as well. I'll show you some of the troubleshooting techniques I take with some of the stuff here that might help some of you out. But as you saw by the title of the video, this belongs to Herb Deutsch. For those that don't know, Herb actually worked at Moog Music back in the day and had some input on this particular instrument. It's also called the SOB in the title of the video, which most of you might be thrown off by that name. No, it's not son of a you know what. It actually stands for string, organ, and brass, which is what Herb originally wanted to name this instrument. And this is better known to most of you guys as the Opus 3. This is the Opus 3, which is actually produced under that name. And but yeah, the story is that Herb wanted to call it the SOB, and Norland management at the time would not allow that name. It was too offensive for that era of time. This would have been around 1980, 81, somewhere around there. And so just they would not allow that name to be used, and so it came out as the Opus 3, which was also named by Herb, the Opus 3. So really cool, interesting history there, and this is from Herb himself. I talked to him on the phone, and Herb's a great guy. For those that don't know who he is, fantastic character. Really enjoyed talking to him. And Herb, I'm addressing you. I really do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to work on your Opus 3 for you, or the SOB as we're now going to call it. Real honored. But what's cool about Herb, and this is actually just something personal as well, is that Herb actually worked for Jim Henson for a little while. And what's interesting about that and the connection there is that actually I'm named after a Jim Henson character played by David Bowie. My parents were a big Jim Henson fan, and he played the Goblin King, Jareth the Goblin King, in Labyrinth, and that's who I was named after. So kind of a cool connection there between Jim Henson, Moog, and me working on synthesizers. So kind of cool there. But anyways, Herb, thanks again. Really do appreciate it, and I appreciate you letting me work on this. I'm very honored. But yeah, anyways guys, I'll just kind of go over this thing for you, show you kind of how it works. I want to go through some of the features of how it works. I know I've talked about these things a lot in the past, but I really want to just show you some of the stuff and how this thing works. Now, like I say, this is more of an organ as far as the design concept. It's not like a Poly Moog. It's not like any other Moog product. It uses a whole different chipset than any other Moog product. So it is, in fact, an organ design, or a string machine design as well, because a string machine and an organ are very, very closely related in how they work. And so just going to go over it and kind of show you how this thing actually functions. So what we have here is, I'm still working on it, as I'd mentioned. It has a chorus issue, and unfortunately it's got the bad chorus issue, which is where you have a SAD 512 bucket brigade failure. And what's even worse is it has two of them that bit the dust. One of them works when it's cold, warms up, it dies. And it's not a coupling capacitor issue, and it's not a relation to any of the capacitance issues, which typically causes issues like that. It's the chip itself that is dying. So anyways, as you can hear, I'm going to show you what this thing sounds like with the chorus not working correctly. And just for you guys, so y'all know, the chorus is made up of three sections. It's got 3 bucket brigade stages, and basically what it is they use 2 LFOs. So there's one running like 20 hertz, and there's another one running at I think it's like 2 hertz, something like that. It's like real low, but they interact, and the interaction inside this bucket brigade modulates the frequency of the unit. What you're hearing in this particular case, because it's broken, it's not the oscillator modulating. The oscillators for the actual frequency of the keys are smooth. It's actually getting modulated by the bucket brigade. and you're going to hear only one stage of it. So, and you can see it on the scope. So that's the chorus, and as you can tell, it sounds nothing like the chorus of these things normally. And when we play more than one note, but you can see it on the scope as well. And what it is only the first stage of this chorus is working. Only this one SAD 512 here is working. If we go down here on the scope, we'll go to the other output right here, and you'll see that we have no audio. We have no audio output there. In stage 3, the same thing. No audio output. And I'll show you too the schematic of the SAD 512, or the pinout at least. And I'll kind of show you, because really once you have the pinout, you can't do anything else but check the pinouts, the voltages, the clock. That's about it. That's the drawback of having integrated circuits, is there's no physical, transistors, there's no physical components to troubleshoot, which saves room because you can see how little that component is versus what it would be if it was a bunch of transistors and that kind of stuff. That's the benefit of integrated circuits. So what we do is, as I've checked the clock, so you have a clock input off those LFOs, and then you've got your odd out, even out. Now in this case they're tied together, so these two signals are tied together and put on each of these wires, and then they're summed up here at the VCA for your the VCA here for your actual chorus effect output. So this is working fine on this chip. On the other chips, we got the clock input, we got all the voltages, we got everything there, but we have no even or odd outputs, and so it's inside this chip. Now when it's cold, the stage 2 chorus actually does put an output out, but it's got white noise in it. It's actually internal in this chip. I originally thought it was hysteresis issue, related with component failure, like a capacitor failure, coupling capacitor failure, that kind of stuff. But it's actually in the SAD 512 itself. So that's kind of the sad part about this unit, is going to have 2 new SAD 512s. Those things are as rare as hen's teeth. You cannot find them. But luckily I found some, and I'm going to be able to replace them. But anyways, that's just a look at the pin out there. So if you have chorus issues on any of your synths, now a lot of things use these type of chorus chips, including the ARP Omni. I don't know if the Selena used it or not, but I know the Omni did use the SAD 512s. And what you can do is you can go to pin 1, check your clock, see if you got a clock signal, check your input, make sure you got audio into the chip. If you have audio in, no audio out, and everything looks like it's right there, then you know your SAD 512 has bit the dust. The same approach can be used for the SAD 1024s, etc. A lot of bucket brigades work in a similar pattern, just different pinouts and different, basically different stage amounts, so to speak. But anyways, that's the problem with this one. You get to hear a broken chorus. You get to hear kind of what it sounds like here. Like I say, no modulation on the oscillator right now, and you're hearing how it modulates the frequency of the input. So the input's actually not modulated. Output of the SAD 512 is modulated based off the 2 LFOs driving the SAD 512. So just a little bit of stuff how that works. The Opus 3 now, you guys have heard me talk about how this thing's like an organ. You've heard me talk a lot about the different stuff as far as the gated dividers, that kind of stuff. Well, I'm actually going to show you the schematics here, and I'll show you exactly what this looks like. So as you know, I've mentioned that you have drawbar type effect, because each one of these dividers, which are right here, actually have a bus 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 frequency per chip, and it's just bussed together. Basically they come off, all these buses here are tied together, come up here to a buffer. These are buffering amplifiers here, and they go out to where they're mixed into the actual string section, the organ section, and then the brass section, which is using the VCF. So that's kind of how it works. But this is the primary drive right here of what makes this thing actually work. And so what you have is you have a oscillator, a 2 megahertz oscillator here, built around a chip. Comes in here. This is your top octave synthesizer chip, which actually generates basically the octave, 1 octave, and then it goes out and it drives all these chips with the frequencies, and then these actually divide that frequency down. And then what's interesting about this particular unit is that basically you have one of these chips. It'll be like, for example, this first chip supports all the C sharps. So C sharp 1, C sharp 2, C sharp 3, C sharp 4. And so anytime you hit a note, it's going to give you output of all these footages per key. Now the frequency that comes out of here is going to be based off whichever note you hit, and these are called gated dividers, which means they actually work like a little amplifier inside here. So there'll be no outputs until a note is hit, and then it's based off the attack capacitor, as well as these capacitors here, which is what I've always bring up about I replace, because these dry out and then you start having release issues. So your release will be uneven per key, so to speak. So this chip does a whole lot, and it's primarily what makes up the actual unit is right here. And then of course then you have all these frequencies come out here. It goes out here and it goes into the upper board, which is the board that you're seeing right here. And just to show you too, I can show you your transistor ladder filter right here. There's your Moog transistor ladder filter with the capacitors and all that needed to support it. This uses a 3046 as part of the transistor ladder, as well as I think the U24 here is actually the balancer. I think it's probably like the E402 used in some of the Moog filters. But anyways, that's the ladder filter, which is used by the brass section. And you can actually hear it right here. We'll go here and of course you got the envelope or the contour for the filter. So you actually, it's got its own contour. As you can hear. And of course I've demoed a lot of this stuff on other Opus 3s. Or now I'm going to be calling them the SOBs just because of the story here. It's kind of a cool story. And then of course your rawest form of what comes off those dividers are right here. This is your footage range. So you got basically 0 will bring up 16. So turn that up a little bit. So there's 16. And the highest one's hard to hear. So that's the rawest form of your dividers, basically. And then of course that sound's then sent over here, and then you select your octave for your filter, for example. So right now it's at 16, 8, and then 4. So 16, 8, and 4. And then you've got also the same thing for the chorus, which don't sound right, but you got basically, I think it's 8, 4, and then both on it. So you get 8, 4, and both. And then you got a stage of resonator from a Polymoog, as I've brought up in the past as well. So just a good little overlook here how this thing actually functions, and that's primarily what makes up your circuitry right here. This is the heart of really the Opus 3 or the SOB. Is the circuitry right here, and it works completely different from any other synthesizer that Moog made. It's using the TDA 1008s, which are found in like a lot of the Italian organs and a lot of the string machines of the time and that kind of stuff. What we also have too is we have the front board, which you can kind of see exactly what's going on in this front board. I won't get too technical with it, but you can kind of get an idea here. of kind of what you got. You got your transistor ladder filter right there, which you've seen on the circuit board. And then, of course, you can see why they call it a ladder filter. It looks like a ladder. The transistors are series together and then paralleled across there, and paralleled across with the base. Basically, the bases are connected together. Yeah, and it is an E402 balancing right there. Dual in-channel JFET. But yeah, right there's your footage is off your dividers into the mixer of your organ right there. I apologize for this camera angle here. I'm trying to hold the schematic and do different stuff. But that's basically how it works. That's it. And then the chorus board. Now this is the chorus. Another interesting story about the chorus of this particular unit is it actually is made by Norlin. Now what's interesting about this chorus board is actually Norlin owned Lowry organs as well back in this time period. And so this is actually a chorus board manufactured in Mexico on a Norlin circuit board. It says Moog. There's nowhere it says Moog on it except for it has a part number. It says assembled in Mexico, and there's like a part number right there for the I think that's a Moog part number. But the board, as you can see, it's a cheaper material. It's not a well-made material. It's just kind of like the old fiber board you find in like some of the old Japanese synthesizers. And so this was actually externally made, outsourced, and sent to Moog Music to be used in this particular machine. And so you can see just kind of how the board even looks completely different from Moog's typical, fiberglass circuit boards. But what's interesting here is here's the actual chorus. So you actually can kind of see what I was just talking about here, how this works. So this is your basically identical circuits per bucket brigade here. You got a low pass filter for your modulation sources, and it comes in here, and then this is actually what drives your SAD 512s. Basically, it makes a sine wave in, and then generates the frequencies to drive your SAD 512s. And it's using transistor logic LFOs, which you can see over here. So you can kind of see how that works. And they're clocked at different points of these LFOs to give you your different phases, basically. And that's how it works. So it's pretty simple, it's pretty complex, but it's also very, simple when you think about how it actually works. It's just phase angles is all it's focused on. And the different phase angle interaction of the modulations and all that good stuff. But anyways, I just want to make a little bit different video than my usual stuff. I'll also show you guys the actual divider board here. So this is what the divider board looks like. The Keir circuits, which are all those capacitors I've already replaced, and then the TDA 1008 chips, which make up your dividers. And that's pretty much what makes this thing up. It's one of the more simple designs, but it's it's a great machine, and in my opinion, it's got a really good chorus. I'd almost say it's equivalent to what you find in the Omni as far as the sound. It's a lot smaller size, so it's actually easier to port around, and it's also got the organ section, and you can mix all this stuff together, which is really cool. And it's got stereo outputs, and you can pan using these sliders right here, left and right per section. So it gets really cool when you start playing with this thing in a stereo setting. But anyways, guys, just want to make a little bit different video. I will have a video on this thing once it's complete. Also, another thing I didn't address was something that's really cool about Herb's particular unit is it actually has a Pratt Reed keyboard. These things would originally have came with a Matsushita keyboard. For those that don't know, a Matsushita keyboard is like what you find in a Memory Moog, the Moog Source, the Prodigy, the Liberation, and also a lot of the Korg products like the MS-20, the MS-10, the Poly 6, the Mono Poly. It was just a really simple keyboard. It was easy to repair, which was a great benefit of that keyboard. You could actually just slide a note off and replace it. You didn't have all the alignment stuff you have to do to a Pratt Reed keyboard. But in my opinion, the Pratt Reed keyboard feels a lot better. It's got a lot more solid feel to it. But they are a lot more to service, and they are easier to break because you do have a physical adjustment. that has to be made to get the key height set, and then also the contact travel has to be adjusted as well. Now this is a J-wire keyboard, and I'm not sure what this is off of. I'm not sure where this came from, because most Moogs, they start with F, and this starts with C. And the only thing I can guess, and I hadn't looked at it in a while, is probably like a Sonic 6. I don't know if it starts with C or not. This could be a Sonic 6 key bed, but not 100% sure of that. But just another cool thing, and this was a retrofit, because I can actually see the holes were drilled, and this was put in later. So this is something that was changed out, and it's a late serial number. It's like 6000 serial number. So this isn't a prototype of any sort, but it's just kind of cool some of the stuff Herb had done to this particular unit to make it have a better feel, and just some of the stuff like that. But once again, guys, just thought you guys might enjoy this video, and something a little bit different here than my usual just go to and show everything, and just something a little bit different here. And then once again, Herb, really do appreciate it, and I will be in touch with more updates. I'm waiting on these chips to come in, these SAD 512s. When they come in, we should have your course fixed, and it'll be happy once again. But anyways, once again, appreciate it, and appreciate all you guys watching my videos, and there'll be more to come here very soon. Take care.